So, we are cast into a reality without asking. We are created in this physical reality by other people. You know what I'm saying? So this is the foundation of free will. If it weren't the case, so and so, such and such, yada yada. But if you think of consciousness as one thing that exists somewhere other than the physical world, a couple things happen. You can believe that you exist outside of this as well. And so that opens the door to maybe you did have a choice to come here. It's just you don't remember it or something. And it also leads to understanding the nature of higher dimensional systems governing physical reality. You know what I'm saying? Look no farther than evolution, because no scientist will claim to know when the self-organizing becomes an awareness. And so for this, I look to philosophy, and I believe that consciousness is a field, just like the electromagnetic background, the cosmic microwave background. Consciousness is just a non-physical, non-local. And so psychedelics lead people to having visions of higher dimensional geometry. And it's been that way for centuries. So it's interesting to me that even from like a minimalist standpoint, there's a system in the human brain that shows the same patterns to anyone who takes those psychedelics, you know, among other things. And so ancient religions have had this meditation involving a circular energy flow between this reality and outside of this reality. And sacred geometry has shape representations of things that are significant, like Earth is a an icosahedron, for example. The triangle represents mind. But hyperdimensionality is where the things exist. And this is basically just a hologram that's represented in 4 dimensions. So space is a property of mass, and things that exist outside of the paradigm of time, you know, is considered to be the world of ideals. Or by some circles, hyperspace, you know what I mean? And so sacred geometry is important because then you're able to recognize patterns, which is important for survival. But basically what happens is you start noticing things that seem different, and then you start to explore it, and then you have synchronicities where things start to line up with what's going on inside of you. And then some people get to this door thing, and then some people have like trips, psychological perception of states of consciousness that are not considered everyday consciousness. All right, so basically what happens is you meditate and you pulse your brain with energy. And it allows you to open channels of communication that can sort of like be running firmware updates or whatever, like to allow you to be able to process the new version of the OS or of the app that you're looking at. You know what I'm saying? And that's like learning the language of aliens when you're in the fucking DMT realm. It's like you're being updated on how to participate in this higher dimensional thing as a human being who potentially lives their whole life without even having an awareness of hyperdimensionality.
On my own vibe, it's sewed inside the plot mechanism on the mic.
When you have a channel open through your visual cortex, you're able to understand non-symbolic communication. Language is based on symbols, and therefore any understanding you have of someone else using language is going to be limited based on the symbolism, based on your understanding of the symbolism. So your qualia, when you listen to somebody talk, is your version of what those words mean. You understand what I'm saying? So if you can perceive hallucinogenic colors, they can be used as a direct form of communication, because it's something outside of everyday descriptors, you know, which is why the language is not, if you record yourself actually talking in one of those languages, it sounds like nonsense. But it's more along the lines of the little microtonal adjustments that shaman make when they're doing their ayahuasca rituals. Like the most minor change will lead to like a difference in, you know, the stream of information. Basically, the mandalas and the sacred visual patterns boil down to dimensionalities, and so all you need to think is dot, circle, sphere, explosion. Inside becomes the outside, and now energy is flowing, right? Energy. After this explosion, but the structure of the universe remains. Therefore, there's a hypersphere, a high-dimensional toroid is what it's called, and it looks like a donut mixed with a Klein bottle mixed with a sphere. And information on the center of the universe where all physical reality is contained, and the other side of the toroid where the land of the dead is. We are connected with chi, you know, with cosmic energy flow via this evolutionary process of the physical reality that we're living in, you know. And then when it finally took shape and energy cooled off enough to have availability as like particles and stuff, that started happening, you know. And then scientists will take you from there into the present moment. But as far as Turing patterns and higher dimensional math that can accurately represent physical things like stripes and zebras, and some say like swirls in the air like in Starry Night, you know, people have inklings. My recent thing is regardless, the thing that's important is to understand that everything is spinning. And maybe even on a fundamental level, like everything as in the entire universe might be actually spinning. And what happens when something spins within a field, it creates a perpendicular force, and then torque happens, and a rotation is introduced, a parameter is introduced. And so we have all these unexplainable parameters, and if you add spin, then I think a lot of them would be able to have terms come to with, you know what I mean, like
eyes did the scan. That was a big mistake.
And
take for granted, I take what was behind the motherfucker's face and dismantle. Muscle twitching, skull splitting, all of them one by
really,
one,
that's all there is to understand.
Deep in brooding when I shed
And you can
tears.
reflect on this and begin to see it everywhere.
Daily in the situation.
And, you know, have higher channels of self-brain communication by energizing with a pulse or maybe even a spin. Try to add some kind of like torque to it. And then close your eyes and try to see past your eyelids as far as you can. You know what I'm saying?
Everything is everything.
A second ago, 2 seconds from then, and that is the magic second, you know,
The
like.
shape of the granite planet, orbiting the gaseous clusters and zapping the buzzers with the